Hey guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing another movie review, so hopefully you find this one interesting. This movie is a horror film from France, French language, English subs, released in the year 2017, directed by Fabien Delage, and this film is called Cold Ground. So Cold Ground is about some investigators, French investigators, that are going to go up to the French Alps with an American and a few British investigators, and they want to determine why these animals are turning up without their organs and they're being skinned. And so all of the injuries on these animals are absolutely precise, very precision sort of surgeon-like incisions. And so they believe it's something that is more than just an animal that's doing this. So they want to go up and they believe that there's a lot of radiation in the area, and so they want to do a study to find out what is going on. So the further they get up these French Alps, the more cold it's getting, and the more they realise that maybe they were better off staying below. And to add to their worries, not only do they have to combat the cold element, they also have to contend with the fact that something is a lot more sinister that's going on that has put them in grave danger. So whether or not this group of investigators can get out with their lives and what's actually happening up on these French Alps is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on Cold Ground. I was very, very excited to come into this film. Now I'm a massive fan of French horror films, or European horror films in general. They have actually been making a little bit of a resurgence lately, so I really wanted to see what Cold Ground could deliver. Now when it comes to French horror, you think of extremities like the Fab Four, such as Inside Martyrs, Switchblade Romance, aka High Tension, and Frontiers. They were movies that really stood France up there and really got me excited as far as foreign horror films are concerned. These were horror movies that really didn't, basically didn't pull a punch. They were very unapologetic, and they were there to base it as fact as, for genuine horror fans. And so since then, they have been making films. They haven't been as good, and I have been a little bit disheartened by that. But recently, French horror, case in point, Raw, which is a very extreme French horror film that I really loved. And so these new French horror films are actually coming out, and I'm actually getting excited again. So when I saw that Cold Ground was out, I saw the trailer and I thought to myself, okay, this is a found footage horror film. And so for those of you who hate found footage, this is not a movie that's going to win you over. It's not a movie that's trying anything different, which is ultimately a problem that the film has. But what I liked about it was it does have a very French flavour. It's a very atmospheric film, and the atmosphere seeps through the screen. The French Alps in this film look absolutely fantastic. I thought it was a brilliant setting for a horror film, because not only do they have to contend with the dangers, but it's also the harsh element. And it's in the middle of summer here in Australia, and I watched this a few nights ago, and it was a very hot evening, but I felt cold watching this movie. So the Europeans and the French, they actually have a fine attention to the detail of the atmosphere, and how the atmosphere can be a massive contributor in actually freaking an audience out. And so I thought the build-up to this film was fantastic. I thought, okay, what is going on? There's a level of mystery as to why these strange things are happening, and Fabien Delage actually he executes that very well in keeping the curiosity up there right until the end. So the anticipation that something really bad is going to happen is what really creeps you out. And so they have to combat the harsh element, but the element of surprise is always there, so the anticipation's there, and I never really felt bored watching the movie. But if you're not a fan of found footage film, it does have the same sort of found footage trope, which is something I'll go into a little bit later. But I thought the acting was fairly decent. The majority of this film is in the French language with English subs. There's a little bit of English language, but you do have to contend with subtitles. So coming into a French horror film, that's what you would expect, and that's exactly what you get. So I thought that the overall cinematography, there's a little bit of a problem with that I have a little bit later that I'll go into, but I thought that some of the set pieces were very good, especially at the end when you know what's going on. I thought it was actually quite terrifying, and so the director actually edited the film in a way that actually made it creepier. So it leaves a little bit to your imagination. I know a lot of people out there actually like to see what exactly it is that's going on, but this movie doesn't do that, and that's something that's very European. It doesn't really spell everything out for you, and it forces you to use your imagination, and that's something you want from an experience like this. And so that's what I like. But unfortunately, there is a lot to dislike. Now, to start off with, it is set in the 1970s, and this movie, it says that it's the footage has been found in 2017, and they're going back to find out what happened to these people. And this has been done time and time again. And so when you've got a film that is very generic as far as found footage is concerned, found footage from the United States, when it comes to a French horror film, I felt really disappointed. I thought to myself, this doesn't really have any creativity. Yes, the atmosphere is great, but there's a lot of things that are contradicting that great atmosphere, which is the fact that it's set in the 1970s. It's got a very grainy picture. And I thought, okay, well, it looks okay, and it would have looked better if it was a straight straight out horror film instead of a found footage horror film. So when you've got a found footage horror film that has really grainy picture and it's got a 1970s sort of picture, but it's got really good sound, I felt, okay, well, there's a modernized version of 1970s. It doesn't really feel that good. And so I thought to myself, the cinematography is a little bit different, but it didn't really work for a found footage horror film because the overall technology that they're using is very modernized, but you're supposed to believe that it's in the 1970s, and because I didn't believe it was in the 1970s, I thought the grainy picture really got in the way. So I didn't really like that. And then you've got this, the formula that has been done over and over. You know exactly what's going to happen because, you know, basically it's found footage. And so there are moments that there are a lot of jump scares, and I just thought, okay, this is a very Americanized sort of horror film that is selling itself as a French horror film. So if you go in there expecting a French horror experience, you're going to be really disappointed. Although the movie does have some positives that actually make it worth watching if you're a diehard fan of found footage, I just thought to myself, okay, well, the found footage wasn't really needed. It could have been an even better film if it was just a standard traditional style of horror film instead of actually cashing in off the found footage that has been popular in the past. So if you have seen movies set in the snowy areas, you know, such as the Dyatlov Pass incident, there's a lot of similarities with that film. If you like that movie, chances are you're going to like this film. There are some very good set pieces, but ultimately, as far as French horror is concerned, it really doesn't live up to it, and it just becomes a film that you could dismiss as an Americanized sort of found footage horror film. So that was disappointing. It's not a terrible film. It's worth watching, as I said, if you are a found footage horror fan. It doesn't go for very long, but ultimately it's a film that is very disposable and forgettable. So overall, for Cold Ground, going to give this one 2.5 stars. Considering that's a French horror film, I can say that I was actually a little bit disappointed. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later. Bye.